there, cats and kittens, and welcome back to another episode of the MonkeyBoy Presents DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today is issue number 43, Poison Ivy, the first villainess in the series, unless you count Catwoman, which I don't. So, the first villainess in the series, and I'm very excited to bring this one to you. She's a wonderful figure, great villainess, wonderful addition to the line, one of Batman's most famous of his rogues gallery, probably one of the most famous female villains in all of the DCU. She's been on, I think, pretty much every animated version of the Batman cartoon shows that there have been. She was on the old animated series, The New Adventures of Batman and Robin. She was on the Batman, I remember that. She was written a little bit differently in that one. She played Barbara Gordon's really good friend in college. And she was even on an episode of The Brave and the Bold, if I'm not mistaken. So she's been around quite a bit. She's pretty famous, I think. Most people know who she is. She's been in a movie that I would rather not speak about. So let's just dive right into the magazine, which will cover everything we need to know about Poison Ivy, aka Dr. Pamela Isley. And then we'll take a look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. Overall, I really dig this figure too. You'll see that in just a little while. Please sit back, relax, enjoy issue number 43 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Poison Ivy. First up, the character section. And it's here that we learn that Poison Ivy was once known as Dr. Pamela Isley, who had grown up in the Pacific Northwest to a middle-class family, earned a full scholarship to university, and, while she was there, studied and gained her Ph.D. in botanical science and biochemistry. After being dosed by Dr. Woodrow, Pamela's body began to transform. It actually made a cocoon around itself, and for 6 months she was inside this thing transforming. Pamela decided to use these powers to save the Earth, and did so by embarking on a life of crime. We also learn that while Ivy does typically work alone, she has teamed up on occasion with other villains, like the Secret Society of Supervillains. She's also served with the group known as the Suicide Squad. And most recently, she's teamed up with fellow Gotham vixen Catwoman and her BFF Harley Quinn to form the Gotham City Sirens. We also learn that Ivy has tried to turn over a new leaf on more than one occasion. Shortly after returning to Gotham, the city was rocked by a massive earthquake, leaving it in chaos, and Ivy found herself the reluctant protector of a group of orphaned children. We also learn that during the storyline known as Hush, she was actually able to take control of Superman using a kryptonite-laced lipstick. Lastly, it tells of a time when she actually went to the Batman seeking help after one of her creatures that called itself Harvest ran loose and turned against her. Next, we take a look at some of Ivy's classic storylines. First up, Detective Comics, A Walk in the Park. And this is the story that takes place during No Man's Land, where Ivy found herself the reluctant protector of a group of orphans in Gotham's Robinson Park. Batman is forced to go in to try and reason with Ivy after the mayor, desperate to regain control of the city, decides to use a chemical herbicide to kill everything and everyone in the park. It's a great story that shows just how desperate she is to protect these children, that she's not bad deep down inside, that she really does want to do the right thing, and ultimately she gives herself up just to save the lives of these innocent kids. It's a great story that's worth checking out. We also have Batman and Poison Ivy, Cast Shadows. And Poison Ivy plays the hero in this beautifully illustrated story. She actually ends up helping Batman after he takes her out of Arkham Asylum to help investigate a string of murders in Gotham City involving plant spores. It's also a really great story because not only is she desperate to clear her name and prove to Batman that she can be trusted, at least some of the time, it also shows Ivy using her scientific skills and her botanical knowledge and expertise to help solve this crime and figure out who is really committing these murders. Ivy's Allies and Enemies section features a great shot of Batman and her BFF, Harley Quinn. Finally, the Original Thinking section continues the DC timeline with Part 34, The Forge of History. It's here that we learn in 330 BC of an evil wizard named Diabolu who used cursed incantations to summon thousands of vicious demons and trapped them inside of an idol head that he carved from mystic stone. Luckily, a time-displaced Martian manhunter happened to be on the scene, and he helped fight off some of these creatures and spells that Diabolu had left for the innocent citizens of Greece. We also learn a few years later that Alexander the Great had help from time-displaced members of the Justice Society, including Hawkman and Hawkgirl, when he crossed into Persia. And here we have Poison Ivy, and honestly, I'm pretty impressed with this figure overall. I'm very pleased. It's nice to have a villainess, finally, unless you count Catwoman, and it's nice to have another female in the line, always. And really, like I said, overall, very pleased with her. I think the pose is really cool. I love her hair, how it's big and wild and crazy, and almost looks like it's a living organism unto itself, which is pretty accurate. You know, if you're familiar with the Arkham Asylum and City games and some of the comic books, her hair kind of moves on its own, so that's a nice little touch. And all the green and things through the hair, there's actually roots and stuff all crawling through it. As you can see, some leafing around the crown of her head, which is really nice. There are some issues I have with her. The face on mine is just okay. As you can see, the eyes are a little bit lopsided depending on the angle, so when you're posing her, you want to pose her kind of like that, just showing the one side of the face perhaps. But overall, I think she's nice. The vines and things that are running around her legs and her arms as well are a very nice detail. And barefoot character, it's the very first one in the line here so far, which is great. You can even see they did every toe on her, which I'm sure was very difficult to do. And she's only on the one foot. Dig the color of her skin as well. I'm glad they didn't give her like a flesh skin tone. They have a sort of chalky mint green, kind of milky mint green sort of skin tone to her, which I really dig. It's awesome. Yeah, I think overall she's a very nice figure. I'm pretty pleased with her. Talk about it a little bit more here with some better pictures. Ivy stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of her base features her name in a couple different languages along with her serial number. And so you can see her in scale. Here she is with the Man of Steel and the Dark Knight, with her Gotham City Siren teammate Catwoman, a group shot with the Secret Society of Supervillains, and one more with all of the other villains from Batman's Rogues Gallery they've released so far. So, Poison Ivy, I'm really happy with this figure overall. I think it's a really faithful interpretation of the character. I dig the pose. I really like all the little details. There are things that are wrong with it. It's definitely a flawed figure, but I think it's pretty nice, honestly. The good, I think, outweighs the bad. So let's take a look at the good. I dig the pose. I like the way she's kind of leaning back. It almost looks like she should be in a bed of vines or something holding her up. I really like the fact that she's barefooted. You can see her toes. I like the vines that are wrapping up her legs. The color of her skin is also really nice. It's this nice sort of milky, greenish, whitish, kind of mint green almost. It's a nice skin tone. It's perfect for her. I dig how the leaves around her left leg, too, are almost like a garter belt. I think that's a sexy little touch there. I like the outfit, the fact that it's trimmed with leaves is a really cool touch, and there are two different shades of green, a different shade on the bodysuit, and the leaves are a different green, so that's nice, a little bit of detailing there. Her hair is fantastic. Really dig the hair sculpt on this. I like how it's wrapping around her one shoulder a little bit. It looks, like I said before, it's sort of alive, you know, and the fact that there are roots and leaves and green branches and stuff through there as well. It's really nice, and the leaves around her head and the little choker kind of collar she has going on. Her hands are great too. You can see the one on her chest is not attached. It's actually raised up off of her chest, which I think is great. She's got the green fingernail polish, and the other hand is the closed fist, and it has some of the leaf viney things kind of wrapping around up her forearm. And as I said, the face is pretty nice. If you get it from the right angle, like you can see here, it's pretty nice from that side. But if you're doing the straight-on thing, not as pretty a figure, which you'll see here with the bad. I have a couple little nitpicks that I'll start with first. Mine has a little bit of damage to the one foot. Minor thing, shows it's handcrafted. The other issue is the hair color. I think it's a little bit too deep a red. It should have been a little bit more of an orange sort of tone. So that's the only paint issue I really have. Another little nitpick is the bodysuit is just sort of plain. I think I would have preferred it if the entire thing looked as though it was made out of leaves instead of just the leaf trim. She's worn costumes like that where it's all leaf, so that might have been just a little something extra to look at, but that's just a minor little nitpick. The only other major bad thing on mine is the face. And of course, as you can see, the eyes are not painted well, unfortunately, so you definitely want her to be seen from a specific angle. The ugly. The figure is a little bit fragile, I'm not going to lie. You got to watch out for that one arm that's extended with the fist. That's sort of fragile, and she's very fragile at the base. You do not want to pick her up by the base. You always want to grab her by the hair or the head or around the torso. She's only attached by that one foot, and I can see her snapping off of there pretty easily, to be honest. As you can see, she has a tendency to sort of lean back as well, so you want to watch out for that. But overall, I do dig her. You know, she's not flawless. There are some things that I have issue with. Really, the biggest one being the fact that the eyes on mine are uneven. Also, the hair color does bother me a little bit. It should be more orange than it is here. But overall, I really think she's nice. And like I said, from the right angle, she looks pretty stunning. Looks good with the other Gotham City Sirens, Catwoman and Harley Quinn. You'll see Harley Quinn in due course. And she looks great with the rest of the Rogues Gallery. It's nice to have another female breaking up the boys club here. And yeah, I really recommend picking her up. I think she looks really good. You know, check the face if you want to find one that looks really stunning. But overall, very pleased with this figure. Love all the Batman figures, especially the villains. So yeah, pick her up, check her out. And thank you all for checking this review out. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser trailer of the next issue in the line. It's yet another villain. Don't know how familiar you guys are going to be with this particular villain. If you're a Teen Titans fan, you probably know him pretty well. But he's sort of misleading because his name does not sound like a villain's name. Anyway, stay tuned for that. As always, I am your host, the Monkey Boy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.